Well, I was becoming the oldest rookie in the history of the NFL, other than the kicker, and kickers don't count, at 30 years old. My wife was the youngest head coach in NCAA history at the University of Pennsylvania for Division I at 21 years old. When she was 14, 15 years old, she had USA on her jersey, and there it is. There's Janet at the Olympic trials. And of course, I'm out there, and I want to be a Philadelphia Eagle in the worst way. And that picture you see up there on the right, 14 years old, not even 5 feet tall, not even 100 pounds. You're too small, Vince. You can't make it. You're too small, Vince. It'll never happen. I wanted to play Little League football. I wanted to play junior high school football. You can't do it. Season ticket holder for my Eagles for 10 years, and man, did we ever suck. We were so bad. Even the Giants beat us. That's how bad we were. We go back. I actually go back as a fan to the Y.A. Tittle days. Anybody remember that guy? Right? And Pat Summerall, the head-on kicker. That's the whole deal. And of course, my dream was to play for the Philadelphia Eagles. My guy was Tommy McDonald, and I was thinking, and I used to think that I was Tommy McDonald when I was playing in those rough touch leagues. And then finally, I got the opportunity of a lifetime. But when you have a dream, and when you're thinking, as I said last night, not just thinking out of the box, just thinking out of the universe, unfortunately, whatever that vision is, whatever that passion is, whatever that thing that the Corey family has and the Corey team has, people are going to try to beat the crap out of you. They're just going to try to knock you down all the time. And some of the things, I call it the Rocky Road, because I was compared to, Rocky was 30 back then in 1976 when the movie came out, and I was a 30-year-old rookie. You don't think that the guys on the team on the Philadelphia Eagles, I don't care if they were the Giants, whether it was Cowboys, whatever team I played on, they might be on any other team. It wouldn't be on the Corey team. But the new kid comes in onto the block, and there's a little bit of resentment. Now, the resentment that I had to go through at that particular time was the fact that I didn't have any resume. I didn't have any pedigree. And some of the other things, I was getting bullied by the guys out onto the field. You can't even imagine the psychological and the physical bullying I took. And that one scene in the movie where you saw in the trailer, you saw Mark wrapping myself up or wrapping himself up. It was because of a cheap shot. Actually, what had happened, I was just standing around watching the play happen, and a guy drilled me and separated my shoulder. Now, when you're a rookie, you don't tell anybody about any separated shoulders. You got to play. You never quit. You just got to keep going on. And that's what that was around. So I got bullied. I got bullied psychologically. I got bullied physically, and they were trying to get into my head mentally. But, there were some times you don't think I wanted to quit, but I'll tell you why. I'll tell you why I couldn't quit. Because every time when we had practice, my father worked at Westinghouse. He was on strike half the time, right? Every time I'd come out from practice, there'd be my dad sitting in the stands with all his buddies. There'd be all the kids that I taught and coached at Interborough High School, right around the corner from where training camp was. You think I could walk out on them? And for those that said I couldn't do it because I was too this or too that, I just couldn't do it. I wouldn't quit. And again, that resentment I was telling you was caused because people said I had a lack of pedigree. I also didn't have the right resume, where some of the things were going on there. Others are telling me, oh, Vince, you don't want to do it. It's too risky. Well, I'll tell you why people were telling me it was too risky. Because they were jealous of the fact that I would take the risk and they didn't. And there's going to be people in your world, and I'm sure you've already had it, that are going to say that thing. That jealousy will go out there, the insecurity that they have because my success will validate their failure. And then there's the other ones out there on the team. Oh, you can't come. You're not a draft pick like me. So that's the entitlement factor. So there's some of the things that I went through on the Rocky Road. And then there's this one. And I know we've all had this letter. You saw the movie. You'll never go anywhere. You'll never make any money. You'll never make a name for yourself. We've all gotten that Dear John letter, haven't we? It's not like a spouse or somebody walking out on you. It's maybe you being told you didn't have what it took. It might be having been fired from the job. Whatever it is, it's been told us. I know it was told to Hunter. I know it's been told to everybody here in this room. But like I said, if you remember going back, remember that one picture that was shown? There it is. It's the last laugh. We get the last laugh on people. And you know what that picture is right now? It's in Canton, Ohio, in the Hall of Fame. And you know what it's under? It's under a picture of Jackie Smith from the Dallas Cowboys dropping a pass that could have won the Super Bowl for the Giants. That's the last laugh, and that's the best irony there. Are there any Cowboy fans here, by the way? Oh, too bad. You know what? You know what Cowboy fans, you know what Eagles fans and Giants fans have in common? What are they? Patrick, you know, right? Yeah, I hate the Cowboys, man. That's what it is. Yeah, so now nothing against the Cowboys. We do love the Cowboys. You are America's team. If you'd win a playoff game once in a while, that would happen. But anyway. All right. Now, why did I put this picture of the rower up there? Well, my kids go to a school called Bishop Eustace Prep, and there's a great rowing. It's going to be a nationally renowned rowing thing right there. And you always see kids and teams rowing up and down the river. And you see 8 people plus the little captain of the team, the coxswain. You see them all there. If one oar is off by just a little bit, that team's not working. If you get one flat tire, the timing is off. You get a snowstorm, what you had to put through this year with the weather, I can't even possibly imagine. But all those things coming together, it's all about overcoming adversity and obstacles and being a team and helping each other around and helping each other about. So that's the impact and the teamwork aspect of things. And then with that, you really can't do it without somebody else in your life. You know, I never could have gotten to where I got unless there were other people in my life that encouraged me. Yeah, I had a few people who were trying to break me down, but I did have a few heroes in my life. For example, that little boy, Brett, he's from Toms River. I'm a cancer survivor. So what you do for cancer research and all the great things that you're doing, I think that's just phenomenal. I beat colon cancer 14 years ago. This kid's father didn't make it, but yet it doesn't stop him from being the father for his family. That little boy, Alex, he's got muscular dystrophy. Everybody's telling Alex that he'll never walk again. You know what he tells his friends and tells those that say that? He said, well, you know what? If Vince Papale can make the Philadelphia Eagles, I can walk again. I mean, that's the beauty of this whole thing. That's the beauty of our dream and the impact that we have on people, that we can reach down and touch other generations. And you don't tell me that those soldiers, men and women, bronze and silver star medal winners, aren't the greatest people on this earth, wearing USA on their jerseys. That's what it's all about. America the Beautiful. I was thinking about that last night. I'm thinking about an event I'm going to MC tomorrow night for one of the last guys from the Band of Brothers. How many have seen Band of Brothers? Remember Wild Bill Guinier, the guy they call Gonorrhea? Right? That's the guy that I'm going to be honoring tomorrow night at the Kimmel Center. They're my heroes. They're the ones that protect the American dream, as well as my dad down there in the eye, my coach, and if it wasn't for him, I don't know where I would have gone and what I would have done. And on the right, of course, is Coach Dick Vermeil. And then, of course, you know, when you talk about family, you talk about team, you talk about impact, this is what drives me. What's your why? What makes you get up every day when you don't want to and makes you want to drive? We have a saying in our family that dreams are not lived on the sideline. In order to make things happen, you have to get into the game. That's my daughter, Gabby. She's a sophomore at Syracuse University, and she cheers up there. That's pretty cool. And there's Vinny. Vinny's number 13 right there, and of course his aspirations are to play in the NFL. I'm very excited because he's getting a visit from Harvard next week. I can't even think that my son might wind up going to Harvard, for crying out loud. I was lucky I would have made it into a community college. So we must take after his mother, right? A funny story about any football fans. Vinny has number 83. I used to wear number 83, and that was my number. And, you know, the kids, they would think, oh, it's so cool, you know, to have your old man have a movie made about it. It ain't the greatest thing in the world. Because there's a lot of, we were talking about jealousy, resentment, and that kind of stuff in the neighborhood. It happened. And Vinny's in an all-star football game, and he comes, and he said, Dad, I got number 83. And I said, oh, my God, I can't believe you're going to be wearing my number in this all-star game. He said, dude, it's Wes Welker. It's not you, you know. So, and Wes Welker wears 83. So that's my little boy. Yeah, he's up here. And it's all good. This is where I'm from. That's where I'm from. That picture, as Corey was being started, the dream started in 34. That's my mom 3 years later in 1937, playing professional baseball, running up and down the East Coast. I mean, how cool is that? That's my mom. And people call me the son of a lot of things. I'm the son of a pig farmer. And that's my dad right there on the pig farm in suburban Philadelphia. My mom and dad, like Joe the founder, never got beyond 3rd grade. My mom and dad never got beyond the 8th grade because they had to work. They were all one of 9. And my wife Janet's one of 9. They're all one of 9. And it was a Great Depression. It was World War II. They had to work through it. They got married in 1940. But still, it didn't stop them from having dreams. My mom wanted to be an Olympic pentathlete, but her father said, no, you can't. You've got to work. My father wanted to be a professional football player, but his father said, no, you got to work on the farm. You got to take care of the pigs. You got to feed the family. So that's where I come from. My mom, unfortunately, took on, every family has an enabler. I don't know who the enabler is here in the family, but I'm sure Joe Sr., you know who it is. But then they take on all the problems. They take on the troubles. And that was my mom. She took them all on. And she had a tough time dealing with it. And she had also ringing of the ear, which we didn't know what it was, and the doctor was giving her an awful lot of medications. So when I'm 13, 14 years old, and I'm coming up from school one day, there's an ambulance outside our house, and this woman here is being taken out in a straitjacket in that ambulance, my mother. She had her first nervous breakdown. And then she had another nervous breakdown. So when I'm 14, 15, 16 now, there's a lot of stuff going on at the house. My dad's on strike half the time. My mom's going through everything. She's now a full-fledged prescription drug addict. She's an alcoholic, and things just aren't pretty. And I'll tell you what, I'm about ready to come apart at the seams, and I don't know where I'm going to go, and I'm just about ready to fold. The only thing that I had, the only strength I had internally, I thought, was my athletic ability, and I used to channel everything through my athletics. But, you know, I was small, I was tiny. Again, when I'm 14 years old, not even 100 pounds. There's this one person. Who's that person in your life? Who's your hero? Who's the one that took you up by the bootstraps and said, you know what, you can do that when you have the dream? Well, this is the person right here for me, and that's my coach, and that's my coach. It could be your teacher. It could be somebody that you're in love with. It could be a friend. It could be any one of a million people. But he's the guy that tells me to come on out for the football team when I'm a first-year senior, and I wound up leading the county in touchdown receptions. How'd that happen? I'll tell you how it happened. Because somebody cared about me. A lot of people cared about me, but I didn't know it. And I was afraid to reach out for fear that if I did, somebody would tell me that I wasn't good enough, I was too small, that my mother was a drug addict, that all these things were happening. And that's what was going on in my life at that particular time. Then he says, come on out for the track team. And I go out for the track team. He says, what event do you want to do? I said, I want a pole vault. He said, did you ever pole vault before? And I said, oh, yeah. He said, in a housing project I grew up in, we had a creek. We didn't have creeks where I grew up. It was a creek, right? So I said, there's a creek, and the creek's about from me to Joe Sr. over there, and I used to pole vault across the creek in a bamboo pole on the other side. And I'd pole vault over the clotheslines in the backyard on Memorial Day and 4th of July to win money, because people would say, look at this skinny little kid, Vincey. That was my nickname. Watch him. Bip, go up, and they give me a quarter. I mean, I was a rich man, you know? But that's what I did. And when you know it, on Father's Day, that I'm pole vaulting against all these guys that were given scholarships over me when I was trying to audition to them, and I beat them all on Father's Day, 1964. I beat them all, and I vaulted better than I ever vaulted in my life by almost 2 feet. 2 feet I cleared, and it turned out the world's record was 16 feet, and I was only a foot and a half off the world's record. And then schools were running up with scholarships, and you know, all the ones that said I wasn't good enough, now all of a sudden, I'm their man, right? Oh, yeah, right. I'm going to trust you because tomorrow maybe I'll get that letter that I had gotten by wife number one. There are a couple in my life, by the way. But there it is. So, you know, what's your first invincible moment, Vince? That's it. On Father's Day, 1964, when I got that scholarship to college, and my father reaches and hugs me and told me he loved me for the first time I can ever remember. And we just had a big cry, and he was my best friend ever since. So that's my dad, the dreamer, the pig farmer. And then there's another person in my life too, and that's Janet. I'll tell you what, about 25 years ago, 23 years ago, I was at the top of the mountain. Man, I'll tell you what, I was at the very bottom of the valley. I thought I was pretty cool, but I was struggling a lot until I met that woman. And then with her help and her confidence in me and everything else, all of a sudden, things turned around. We never would have had the Invincible movie if it wasn't for her persistence, because she kept that dream alive, and she's keeping the dream alive right now. She's the one. There's a matriarch in our family. So that's it. Who's your hero? They're my heroes right there. And when I'm trying out for the Eagles in 76, you can't do it, Vince. You're 30 years old. Can't do it, Vince. Never been done before. Can't do it, Vince. You know, you're too old. Guess who comes back into my life a few years later? My coach. And this is a quote that he gives me. Happy are those who dream dreams and are willing to pay the price to make their dreams come true. Now, you know, we can have a dream. You can have all the dreams you want. But unless you're ready to act on them, they're just going to stay right up here. They're going to be right there in your head. It's going to be a state of mind. And unless you're willing to pay the price, that dream absolutely will never happen. And that's what that's all about. So with this, hopefully we'll get this thing going. There it is. And then, of course, in 1976, I got the opportunity of a lifetime, and that's to play for my beloved Philadelphia Eagles. So now, Coach Ramil, we have a lot of leaders out here. I'm going to run these by you just real quick because this is what you're all about, and this is why we were very successful, because of the leadership we got, and this is why you're successful, because of your leadership and making sure that you know your people care. Not just the employees and those around you and your sponsors, but your clients and those that make the delivery. I'm going to tell you what, just a little thing. You must have a warehouse or something down in Baltimore, because these guys come in and they deliver my furniture, and I'm real excited about it because I'm going to get this chair, right? And they were the nicest guys in the world, and they were very friendly. And it was a day after a big storm, and I said, hey, where are you guys from? You know, I thought you were maybe from right around the corner. I didn't know anything about third-party delivery. Now I do. And there we were. They're your guys, and it couldn't have been any better. They were right on time. They said we're going to be there at 9:30. They were there at 9:15. You can't even imagine it, and how great they were. So you'd be proud of that. You know, make sure your people know you care. They cared about me. They cared about me. That's really important. Be a good example. That says it all. Look at the leadership that you have. Build an atmosphere where people enjoy working. I'm sure it's pretty cool where you guys are working. But what's your mission? And your mission, you know what your mission is. That you're delivering dreams, you're delivering teamwork, you're delivering efficiency, you're delivering potential. They're all the things that you do, and that's what your mission is, and you sell it with a passion. Energy, nothing replaces energy. We saw that last night. And again, relationships. That's all about you right now. And then sincerity, nothing replaces sincerity. And here's where it is. How are you going to get to this 20% goal that you might have for this year? Well, it's all about potential. You deliver potential, you have it. And what is potential? Well, if you go to Vince Lombardi, he said potential is something you ain't done yet. But if you go to Coach Ramil, he'll say it's the greatest waste that's out there. Potential, by the way, is a coach killer. It's a coach killer. It's a leadership killer. So be aware of that. And for you, and this great thing that's ready to come out, I don't care what level you're in, it's never too late to get into the game, because there's something there just waiting to get out that's going to make you a better person to help somebody become a better person themselves. Well then, all right, Vince, well, you know, how do we get our potential out? Well, here it is. Here's a couple of them. First of all, you got to visualize it. And the word was said last night by Joe Sr. about Founder Joe, that he had a vision. He had a dream, and he knew exactly what he was doing. And he had no idea when Joe Sr. was talking about last night that was the first thing on my slide. Visualize. Making an impact. You know that you're making an impact right now. The F5 button. What's the F5 button? Well, our great tech crew right over there knows what that is, and all the techies out there. It's the refresh button. You know, sometimes you get stalled. You hit the refresh button, basically. And sometimes when you get stalled, you just go back to the fundamentals. And it's as simple as that, because that's what gives you momentum. And with the fundamentals, don't be afraid to take that risk we had talked about earlier. But when you do take the risk, make sure that you're surrounding yourself with good people. And also in everything you're doing when you're taking the risk, don't say, oh, you know, well, if it didn't happen because it was just too way out there for me. You've got to be accountable on every action that you take out there. So don't be afraid of that. And making sure that the goals that you set are realistic. Without a doubt, attitude is the key. Whether it's a bad attitude or good attitude, attitude is certainly the key. And then the others is perseverance. We already had that as part of invincibility. Resiliency and change. Without a doubt, you can't succeed without that. If you can't adapt to change, you're done. The more you learn, the more you earn. It's as simple as that. And then be the best you can be. Don't worry about the other person. And then go the extra degree. Now, what's the extra degree mean, Vince? Well, the extra degree is like second, third, fifth, 10th effort. If you try to boil water and you have 211 degrees, you've got nothing but a waste of energy and power, a waste of gas. You go one more degree, you have steam. And with steam, you have power. And when you're down here at the shore, you know, beware of the bucket of crabs. What's the bucket of crabs? Well, going all the way back, when I showed you that one slide where you wanted to take that risk and you had a dream, excuse me, And you have people that are trying to pull you down because they're resentful, because they're jealous, because they're insecure. They're your bucket of crabs. Don't let those, when you're that top king or queen crab that wants to step away, don't let those other ones pull you down. Be a leader and beware of the bucket of crabs. And then simply be an invincible Corey teammate. Right here, you got this, you got the one guy. There's Papale, whatever, 83 coming in. But you have everybody else coming in. You have your drivers, you have your warehouse people, you have your support, you have your marketing. It's all about that teamwork when you want to tackle that problem. That's the only way you get it done. And I know you've grasped that because I've heard that word 1,000 times, team and family. And it's caring about others, then yourself. And then it's being a character player. And if you don't have trust, you don't have anything. And then it finally comes down to this. And now we're into the 2-minute drill. And it's called reading the knuckles. The last scene in the movie, I'm going to show it to you again, and let me run it through you what it's all about in a business sense. It's all about analyze, adapt, and achieve. And what do you mean by that? Well, it is very simple. I was getting clobbered. I mean, just clobbered out there, wiped out all the time. And then my friend, Denny Franks, who in real life is my children's godfather and my best friend, Denny Franks says, you got to read the knuckles, man. I said, what's that? He said, well, when a person in front of you leans forward, it's like, you see a flat tire. You don't have to check your tire pressure. You see the things down like that. It's like you got to read it, When a person's right there in front of me and they're leaning forward on their knuckles, there's a change in skin color. And so that means that they're coming forward because their feet are planted and they're going to drive. And then otherwise, if their hands are back like this and their weight's backward, but basically hitting the brakes, they're not going to come after you. So I'm in this play, and they're ragging me pretty hard. We're going to knock you back to the kicker, they're saying things about my mother, my sister, all kinds of stuff. And then all of a sudden I see their knuckles change, and I realize that they're not going to charge me, that they're going to back up and they're going to set up. They're going to set up thinking there's no way that I'm going to release from the line of scrimmage. So I have to make a decision right there on the spot. So I call an audible. What's an audible? Well, it's make a change in the play. The game plan is set up Vince and block because we're on the 10-yard line. You don't want the punter to get clobbered. We got to get this punt off. Well, I decided to call the audible, took the risk because I knew I had a great team behind me. And I said, check Zorro. Whoop. Everybody slides right. And I duck back up underneath. My first step was like this. Here, like these guys saying, I'm going to do a jab step and block. And they're just sort of sitting back and relaxing. They relax a little bit. And boom, like that, right up underneath. And the last word I heard was S blank blank T, and that was it. And hit the guy. And, it was a big play, and we wound up winning the game. How does that apply in business? Well, very simply, it's this: analyze, adapt, and achieve. You got the vision, you got the goal, whatever it is. Get to know everything about it on a positive and negative side, including yourself, and understanding what to challenge and understanding what the vision or the goal is. The adapt part is very simple. Have your audible. Make sure you know where you're going and make sure that you have a game plan on that. And that's your adapt part, and that's your sight adjustment. And the achieve is get it done.